So, welcome back to the Slow Hustle YouTube series, and I'm really stoked to have with me today Helene Smuts. Welcome.
Amazing. Thanks, Nick, and thanks for having me. I have been seeing you all over LinkedIn, so it's quite a privilege to speak to you.
I am a little bit of a PR slut at the moment, but so be it. That's what you do when you have a book out.
That's very true.
So, to kick things off, as everybody knows by now, I don't introduce my guests. So why don't you tell us a bit about who you are and why we should listen to you?
Yeah. So I am, first of all, I think I'm a mum of twins that's driving me completely nuts. Back to school is a very good thing. But I really am extremely passionate about people, and it's been like that since my whole life. So my dad is a minister, my mum is a minister, so I'm obviously the naughty child. But it's been something that's been a part of me. And because of that, I also started the business that I'm in. But naturally, just in terms of my private life, very into nature. I love kind of going on off the beaten track holidays. I love doing water sports like crayfish diving. I just went this weekend, scuba diving, water skiing, all of those things. So it's really putting a lot of effort into my business, but also making sure that I do have that work-life integration. That's quite important for me. So yeah.
Nice. And you see, that's why I don't introduce my guests, because how would I have figured out that you do crayfish diving?
Yeah.
You know, like that's an interesting thing. I think not enough people understand that there is this need for integration. And I've learned, because I'm bald and I've had lots of pain, that stress makes you do stupid things. Okay, so now tell us about your business.
So my business is called Credo Growth, and it's a people development consultancy. And basically what we focus on, which is also an extremely high passion of mine, is we develop high-performing teams. And we do that through workshop facilitation, coaching, personality profiling, keynote talks. And it's really about looking at the psychological behavior of people inside the workplace. And you can imagine, I mean, for example, if we do team developments, there might be real like personality dynamics or just issues that are happening in the team that people aren't really addressing. They're trying to shy away because people are moving away from conflict, or they're too afraid to address the pink elephant in the room. And that's when we come in to support teams to get all that crap out of the way and actually focus on what it is that they can do, but in a way that people have fun and that they actually develop themselves. So there's a lot of emotional intelligence involved, as well as process facilitation to make sure that people can really work well together.
Yeah. I love that for one main reason for everybody watching, because a lot of them are young entrepreneurs or fresh entrepreneurs. You nailed that pitch. Like the pitch was just top class. Like, what do you do? We're a people development agency. I think that was your first lines. And loved it. I got it immediately. Like, it's just so smart. I was actually, I'm a mentor in an organization called Founders Institute, where they join this thing and they push their businesses forward in an accelerator. And I listened to some of their pitches and they were horrific. And it's such an important thing to get, like, what you do, who you're targeting, how you're making money. That's it.
The interesting thing, Nick, is it, and I mean, I hope this didn't sound rehearsed, and I do tweak it every now and then when I speak it. But the very first few times that I did it, it felt so uncomfortable to have those lines almost mapped out. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And then you're like, hey, but this is exactly what I do. But it's that initial kind of setting the sentence or putting the sentences together to get comfortable with that thing. And so that your team knows exactly what to say also when they are being asked.
100%. And that always ties in that sort of statement to the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. And Alec Baldwin has that scene where he tells everybody to ABC, always be closing. And if you know your pitch, you can close whenever you want. So I don't even mind that people's pitches are rehearsed. Like, how long have you been doing what you do?
Just over 15 years.
So no wonder it sounds rehearsed. Like, you have been doing this for 15 years. Like,
yeah. Well, with Credo Growth, that's a new business, but being in the same industry has been for 15 years. So the Credo Growth is a new baby of mine.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that actually is one of my next questions is, how does one get into this EQ soft, I hate the word, but soft skill business when you're starting out? Because let me tell you, I know a lot of life coaches who are 21.
Yes, exactly. So that, and exactly that was a very big obstacle of mine, because I started I can't even remember, I think I was 25 or something, I also started my first coaching business, which, you know, like, yeah, come on, right. So a big thing for me is credibility in terms of, and I know some people will say it's not about what you study, but in this industry, it really, when you are young, it does make a difference because people are going to ask you. They are going to ask, why should you be the one that comes into my team and explain to us how we need to work together when you haven't even run your own business yet for that long? So in that sense, that was a big thing. So I've got a tourism degree, I've got a industrial psychology degree, I've got an honors degree in industrial psychology. I've done a whole lot of other trainings like transactional analysis training. I'm a personality profiler, and all of those things. Even if you can't do a degree, these short courses that you do adds to your credibility. And I think if I look back over my career, the first initial stages of my career, I did find it very hard, but I made sure that I coached within my weight. So I didn't try and coach board members. I coached people at entry level of companies. So, and in that sense, I felt comfortable. I've got imposter syndrome now, but I didn't have it then. But
that's the mark of good imposter syndrome, right? Is it follows you all the way up. Yeah.
It doesn't go away. But don't position yourself as for example, a coach. If you are 22 and you then say all of a sudden you're an executive coach, not so sure. Some people might disagree with me, but coach them at the level that you can support. Coach them teenagers, coach people who are in varsity.
100%.
Yeah.
So what I love about that is there's like this hidden gem of advice for young people. There are two ways to get hired. One is have experience and be an expert. Two, because that's me, right? I coach a lot of business owners, but I've got 20 years of business experience and I'm not a coach. I don't have any I have a degree in politics, philosophy, and journalism. That's it. Or you can be like you were when you were young and do as many courses as you can to build up your skill set. And then the last part of this I love, back within your range. Don't go and shoot. Like it's this theory I'm trying to evolve. We're all trying to be the top 1%. Why? We need more 50% people. Like we need more people who are just getting through and being okay. If we all try and be the 1%, then what about everybody else? There's this huge market that's being ignored. So I love that advice. I think you've nailed it.
And if you think about it, if you're constantly punching within, like, especially if you're young and you're entering whatever industry it is, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours. You are just building that base, and you like all that experience that you are tapping into over a few years is going to give you the trust that people can trust you, credibility, reliability, and all those things.
My grandfather used to say, sorry to interrupt you. My grandfather used to say, you can buy bread, you can buy cheese, you cannot buy experience.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Unfortunately, that comes with time, patience, and perseverance.
Patience. Ooh, when you're 20s, you got no patience, man. I speak from experience.
No, I only learned patience now with my twins. Like
that'll do it.
Yeah,
that'll do it. Okay, so very briefly, you don't have to go into your deep, dark history, but how did you end up here with this business?
Yeah. So it was an interesting journey. As I said earlier, I've got a tourism degree. Love travel, so that was kind of the first thing that was on my to-do list, is like get into travel. Was part of a tour operator business. I was employed by them, and as I'd finished that degree, industrial psychology was one of my majors, and I got so hooked on it. I still blame my dad because of his background, but realizing that within this tour operating business, I then asked if I can start the HR department, which was more about HR generalist. And then it was like, I'm very, very focused on employee wellness. And that's when I started doing, after my honors, I did coaching and then advanced coaching, opened my coaching practice at the young age of, I think, like I said, 25 or 22 or something. And then I met Judith, who's now my ex-business partner, and by no means like really parted on good ways. But she was she just came from Germany, and I had my coaching practice, and we were like, let's do this together. So then we founded a consultancy, And it was an amazing consultancy. And we grew that together, and we had this amazing German sister company, or like the mothership, as we used to call it. And then after 11 years of being with that business, and also with her as a business partner, I needed to get out. I needed to, I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, for anyone that knows what that means.
I'm an 8.
So like lots of shiny things that's happening, and I need to make my own decisions, and I'm quite like, want to do it this way. So there's a 7 and an 8 in there. So that's when I decided I need to restart again. I need that fresh approach to things. And that's how I ended here. So left a very, very sustainable and amazing business after 11 years of building it up. But I needed to take that risk for me. And that was probably apart from getting divorced the first time, that was probably the biggest decision that I've ever made in my life.
Yeah. Amazing. I relate. 11 years in anything is a long time. And the person you are at 25 is not the person you are at 36. I speak from vast experience. I was an absolute asshole when I was 25. So I get it, like the need to move. And that's a massive risk to take. So I think the next question is kind of twofold. You can choose to answer it in whichever phase of your life. But like, how did you fund the start of these businesses? Maybe the second one was easier because you'd had some leverage. But in the beginning, 25, where do you get money from?
So the very first approach that I had to business when I was doing my coaching practice, keeping in mind, I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family. Yes. Okay, so I just always pat myself on the shoulders, like, it's okay that you did it that way. Yeah. I said, okay, if I get my first client, then I can do Y. And then if I get my second client, then I can look at perhaps doing a landing page of a website. And if I get my third, so it was also always, if X happens, then Y can place. So it was a bit of a rat race. And like I was my own biggest competition, I think.
I love that.
But if I look at when I started Credo Growth, I obviously grew up a little bit in the meantime. And what I did then is I really looked at, because it was me who started the business, not with someone else, I looked at my personal strengths and weaknesses and all the experience that I've built up and what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I mapped out in terms of, okay, that's what the business is going to focus on. And of course, the things of what you want to do. But then the second, not the second thing, but probably the most important thing that I did was I mapped out what type of client do I want? Because with the previous business, we worked with from startup all the way to blue chip companies. And it was amazing, but it was exhausting because you constantly have to change your approach of the type of client that you're working with. And don't get me wrong, I mean, if like I still have some corporate clients and some blue chip clients, but I realized that my focus is the smaller type businesses that are also busy scaling and entrepreneurial led businesses, because that's where Credo's type of work has the biggest impact. So it doesn't mean that I'm scaling like 10x every single year or every 2 years. It means I'm growing slower, but I'm growing in a market that really gives me kind of a kick. So that excites me. And I think that was different to how I did it now. And so it's still all self-funding. I still probably have that approach of, if I get this, then I can do that. Now, like, I remember that there was one thing, if I get this retainer, then I can do my online platform. And that's exactly what happened. But there was a bit of a different approach from just, I need money to start. It was like, who do I want to work with? And then that will come, like the rest will follow and fall in place.
These are such incredible pearls of wisdom from experience. The first one is for like young entrepreneurs, you don't need funding, you need sales. There's a difference. Like the best form of funding is profit. So just go and sell. You don't need to raise from venture capital. If your idea is good enough, you will find a customer. And then the second one, which I'm learning in the last 5 years, is you think you know who your customer is, but you don't. Like, just pick them, because I've spoken to so many startups who tell me that their customer is everybody. No, it can't be. It cannot be. Unless you sell water, your customer cannot be everybody. Like, so hone in on your customer, and it's perfectly okay to scale your business off the back of sales and build a slow, sustainable brand. Like, it doesn't need to be exponential. It doesn't need to be a unicorn. It can be a good enough business.
It's actually very interesting you say that, because the last few years it was all about, in my head, scale, scale, scale. There was a lot of pressure on me that I put on me to scale. And then I'm part of an accountability group inside of an organization that's called Entrepreneur Organization. And then I realized, like, hold on, my goal for this year is build a sustainable business. I'm going to take the pressure away from scaling. I don't have to do this. Like, I just need sustainability and calmness.
Yeah, I call these success and failure triggers, and not enough entrepreneurs set a success trigger. What does success look like? When I do this, I'm going to be happy. Because then when you get there, you can go, cool, I'm done. I'm earning 150,000 Rand a month in profits. I'm happy. I never want to scale. I just want to maintain that. Because what's wrong with that? Why do we need a $100 billion business in your life? You don't. The stress.
I do think that there's a lot of pressure from outside. Like, if you are able to do 5 million turnover a year, why don't you push for 17? Why don't you push for 10? And that pressure to please, whether it's from your parents or from your husband or wife or whatever the case might be,
or your ego,
that is the fine line to figure out what do you want, what people expect.
Absolutely right. Okay, what in your business do you do or do you not do any longer that doesn't come naturally to you?
Sure. Financial management. Goodness.
Me too.
I was told when I was in standard 7, which is now, I think, grade 9, that I must please not ever look at numbers. So it was a really bad teacher. I'm not going to name the teacher. Let's save some.
People suck.
Yeah, but and I think that really put a block. Like, I have a block against that. But what has happened over the past few years is and it still doesn't come naturally to me, but and I outsource it, so by the way. But now when I get my results back and my management accounts back, because of the learning that I've gone through on the accelerator program with EO, I've learned to look at the financial reports that I get back and look at it as what does the story tell me?
Yeah.
So now I'm enjoying the story process. I still do not enjoy. I don't know how all of the back end of financials work, and I do it for so long, and it was a time waste, and I probably made quite a lot of mistakes. In fact, I know I made mistakes. But what is learned behavior now is for me to look into and get excited about the story that the financials tell me. And then the second thing is strategic marketing. Oh man, I am so useless at it. So I've outsourced that. Yeah. So I've got a lady, her name is Emma. She does all of it for me. She just says, Helene, jump, and I go, okay.
Yeah.
It's, again, I don't like, it's so bizarre. I do not want to be the person that press the post button on LinkedIn.
And I don't think that's bizarre, right? Yeah. And I think that's it shows the maturity and evolution of an entrepreneur is when you can stop and go, I'm better suited over there. And I'm just going to put all my time over there. Somebody else go do that. And we've all heard it. We've all read it. But the key thing is never hire somebody at your level who knows less than you. You've got to let them hire the people who know more than you and let them do their shit. Don't screw with them.
There's a mentor of mine. I've got so many mentors. That's amazing. So by the way, you need to get lots of mentors.
Well, I want to ask you about that just now. So carry on.
Yeah. He said to me, make sure that as a leader, that you get out of your staff's way. Get out of their way. Just make sure that all these obstacles that they are facing, that you are removing that for them.
Spot on. Your job is to clear the path so they can run it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about mentors, because I very famously in my first book have spoken about this. I've never had an official mentor. I've never found one. They've never come towards me. They've never tried. I've had investors. It's just never happened. So what I did was read every book I could get my hands on, and I surrounded myself with friends that I wanted to be like. And that's how I had mentors. But how did you find mentors? Like, tell my listeners, where do they find these people?
So I think the first thing is similar to you, surround myself with people that I can learn from. And that is almost like an informal mentor approach that you are taking. But you have to be willing to be like a sponge. Because generally what also happens is, oh, my friend's telling me what to do again. If that's the approach that you're going to have with the people that you surround yourself with, don't bother.
Yeah.
But if you're going to listen to friends and go, what about it can I soak up and tweak and change and implement? I mean, like that's
Love
kind
it.
of you acting on mentorship right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm quite the opportunist, if I can put a positive word to it. No, I'm quite cheeky.
Yeah.
So if I find someone that I know that I can learn from, then I literally go up and ask them if they're willing to have a coffee with me and if they're willing to have quite a few coffees with me. Now, again, I was lucky that in terms of the accelerator program, which I want to speak to also for young entrepreneurs about surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs. But so there I found, I mean, there's a field or a sea full of mentors that you can choose from. And I chose someone who's so opposite to who I am. And he's been my mentor for the past 2 years. But apart from having this one allocated mentor, I was like, I probably have 5 different ones and I go to them for different things. And it doesn't always have to be this formal relationship where you meet once a month and then you talk about this. Is you start pulling on certain people on certain things that you need. However, you also need to contribute to that relationship.
Okay.
And I think that's the big thing. A mentorship relationship is not just a mentor me, mentor me, mentor me. You also, in who you are, you're also giving something back to your mentor in terms of how they're learning. And so if it's a selfish thing, then don't do it. It needs to be like a two-way beneficial street.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Having so many mentors can lead to problems. And the quote I want to give you is one of my favorite quotes about advice, is asking for advice is like asking the lottery winner what numbers won for them. So how do you know which mentor to listen to for which problem and which advice to take and which to leave?
That is a very good question. And it's very gut driven at the moment. But I tend to, like, for example, when it comes to business processes, then I know I go to a guy called Mike Scott, who sits in Australia, because he's like the expert in business processes.
When it comes interviewed Mike on my podcast.
Oh, is it? Okay, so you know exactly who I'm talking about. Yeah. When it comes to me as being an entrepreneur and having to do risky and challenging things, then I go to someone who's called Alon Sachs, because he pushes me hard, man. There's a lot of kind of, if I want to be challenged, I go to him. And then there's, of course, and like I'm all naming them now, but there's Arnold Shapiro, who has this holistic approach on business and on life. And when I feel that I need to have that kind of almost like work-life integration things, when I feel unsettled, he's amazing. He like just calms me down immediately. So it's kind of process, being challenged and looking at things a little bit differently. That at the moment is kind of how I see.
Nice. Thanks. That's helpful. Okay. What do you wish someone had told you when you were just starting out?
So a few things. I think the first one is trust your gut, but have someone that sense checks your gut for you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to follow them, but get someone who plays your devil's advocate. I only learned that now, and then be open to the devil's advocate.
Yep.
And then I think another big thing for me is, because as entrepreneurs, we have that belief that we are strong and we need to do this on our own and we're not going to ask for advice, but reach out when you don't know the answer. It's not a weakness, it's a strength. And there's this whole drive in psychology under transactional analysis that's called the Be Strong driver. And that is that driver that pushes us to not reach out when we need to. And again, I'm only learning that now, even though I've been like facilitating those kind of things for years, but only now am I realizing how important it is to be part of a network of people who will challenge you and support you at the same time. And there's so many entrepreneurial networks that you can be a part of. And if you can't find a network, then create a network with your other entrepreneurial friends. But that kind of, I wish someone said to me, it's not a one-man journey. Regardless of someone's in your business or not, you can have that connection with people from other businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that advice specifically on the, ask the dumb questions. It's okay to be embarrassed. Like I learned that really early on in my career. So I'm the person who will walk into a boardroom and be like, I'm the stupidest person here. Explain that to me. I don't understand that. And you can see everybody's faces go, oh, thank God, I had no idea what that meant. Because I don't mind being the dumb guy. That's fine. Because I'd rather learn than be ignorant.
Yeah. And I guess if you're asking a question, regardless in what forum it is, the person sitting next to you probably has exactly the same question. So you're just doing everyone a damn favor.
Exactly. And the thing that I've learned is that if you can't explain yourself to someone when they ask you a question about it, you don't know it.
Yeah.
Like,
no, exactly.
You have to be able to tell someone about this thing. Otherwise, you don't know what it means. Yeah. So very interesting. Okay. That was amazing. So now it's your turn to tell people where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can buy from you. If they need your services, go for it.
Amazing. Thank you. So my preferred professional network, sounds like a nice flow of the tongue, is on LinkedIn. And it's literally just at Helene Smuts. And then also at Credo Growth. So we've got both profiles. It's the credogrowth.co.za website address. And the interesting thing is I find it interesting in any case, is on our website, we've got an online learning platform. There's quite a few free topics or free learnings that we're giving away, very much aimed at personal development. Awesome. And then there's the flagship course, which is about develop your own high-performing team, where everything that's in here and what I do with teams when I facilitate, I've put that in a 12-module course for you to be your own team facilitator.
Awesome.
It's an amazing course. So have a look at that. And then, also there's a Facebook speaker page, which is just Helene Smuts. But that's kind of the main platforms that I'm on. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving me your time and great lessons on this episode. So I hugely appreciate it.
Thanks, Nick. Really amazing to be here.